Good morning, everyone. I'm Veronica Roberts, the John and Jill Friedenrich Director of the Cantor Art Center as of about 3.5 months ago. I have been looking forward to this day even before I started this job. One of the speakers, panelist Howie Chen, the author of the Godzilla book that you've seen outside, is a friend and told me how excited he was to be participating in a convening at the Cantor and asked me if I was familiar with the Cantor. And I had just accepted the job but not announced it. So I said, yes, I am very familiar. When is this convening? And I'm just so thrilled. I've been looking forward to this for so long, and it's just such an incredible group of speakers that we've assembled from across the country and around the world, and it's just really been an amazing first day. I'm thrilled to see so many of you back for the second, and I think we're in for a real treat, a full day. One of the things that I think is so remarkable about the Asian American Art Initiative is that it didn't come from a director like me or a predecessor. It didn't come from a provost or a dean or the president. It came from within the university and was really spearheaded by Marci Kwon, who you'll hear from in a moment, and Elisa Pitcherman Alexander, who's a curator at the Cantor. So this was really from within the university, doing partnering between art history and the museum in a really beautiful way. And I want to also share that we have just launched some incredible exhibitions in addition to this convening that I encourage you all to see if you have time today. East of the Pacific at the Cantor, at home on stage, representations of Asian Americans in photography and film, and the faces of Ruth Asawa. So we have 3 projects that have just launched at the Cantor. The museum will only be open till 5 today, but you can come back Wednesday through Sunday, 11 to 5. And those same hours are true for the Anderson collection, where you can see a really incredible solo show of Stephanie Siyuko called White Balance Color Cast. There's also numerous shows around campus that I encourage you all to see, and even around the community. This is a really exciting time for Asian American art writ large, not just at Stanford. I encourage you all to see Kelly Akashi's show at the San Jose Museum of Art, and there's many more. I'm going to turn it over to Marci in just a moment, but I just wanted to say that I was really moved by how many people acknowledged how many generations and people who came before made a day and a gathering like this possible, and made the seats so plentiful. And I was also particularly moved by Dorothy Wang, who also reminded us it's not just the scholars and the activists and the professors and the artists who've paved the way for this convening, but railroad workers and ordinary people who have made this day possible. So I want to echo that thanks and that gratitude. I also want to briefly share just one of the lenders to East of the Pacific and a supporter of AAAI. I wanted to share something that he wrote that I thought was really beautiful, Patrick Hayashi, who lent work to East of the Pacific. And he wrote, most museums have responded to the call for greater commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion by staging one-time exhibits. Stanford, in contrast, has made a permanent multidisciplinary commitment to the AAAI. It is now part of the institutional fabric of the university. I thought that was really beautiful, and I should add that Patrick is a faculty member at Cal, so for him to have donated his part of his collection to Stanford, I think is a real testament to the work that's happening here. And so this is really just the beginning. This is a permanent, ongoing initiative, and we can't wait to see where it goes next. We need all of your ideas, support to help us dream big, but really it's just the beginning. And I wanted to also share, since this is such a wonderful group of people, that we just created at the Cantor a curatorial assistant position that will open on Monday that is specifically dedicated to the AAAI. So if you know any wonderful graduate students or young people in the field, what an amazing opportunity. This is not a one-year term position, a two-year position. This is an ongoing commitment, and how remarkable of an opportunity it will be for that person to help contribute and have exposure to all those amazing works and this initiative. So please check on the Stanford website, and please spread the word. I also just want to say how much I admire the team that put this together. I mentioned Elisa Alexander, the curator at the Cantor, Marci Kwon, who also will be on stage in a moment, the advisors, Gordon Chang, Mark Dean Johnson, but also a huge round of applause for Ellen and Eddie, who have really put all of this together. Thank you. You'll see them running around. And then last, I just wanted to thank all the people who also made this possible. To organize the program, the Cantor collaborated with the Institute for Diversity in the Arts, known as IDA. There was funding from the Stanford Arts Incubator Pilot Program. The symposium is also made possible through the support from our friends at the Terra Foundation for American Art. We're so grateful. The conference is co-sponsored by the American Studies Program, Center for Asian Health, Research and Education, Center for Comparative Studies in Race and Ethnicity, Center for East Asian Studies, Center for South Asia, Department of Art and Art History, Department of East Asian Languages and Cultures, Department of History, Stanford Medical Humanities and Arts Program, Stanford Program in Modern Thought and Literature, as well as Christine Chan and Bryant Lin. Next time we do the symposium, we'll have double the number of centers and people to thank. So thank you all for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to Marci Kwon.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of IMU UR2, Art Aesthetics and Asian America. I'm Marci Kwon, Assistant Professor of Art History at Stanford and co-director of the AAAI with Elisa Alexander, who I am delighted to announce was just promoted yesterday to the Robert M. and Ruth L. Halprin Associate Curator of Modern and Contemporary Art. Yay! I also want to mention that in addition to the exhibitions at the Cantor and the Anderson, there are also exhibitions on campus by Jean Shin, Kim Ano, and Zhao Zhiji, which you can learn more about using the QR code on your program. And I also want to mention again that Stanford Bookstores has kindly set up shop outside to sell remarkable kind of compendiums of primary source information on Asian American art by scholars who are all here today. So you might not realize it, but Veronica Roberts and Deborah Cullinan joined Stanford just within the past year as the director of the Cantor and the vice president of the arts. And the support that they have shown, the AAAI and me personally, has been, I will say honestly, something that I never imagined would happen at an institution like this. The arts at Stanford feel alive in a way that they haven't before to me in my time here. But they've also taught me so much about what it means to do this kind of work with kindness and integrity. So thank you. Yeah. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge all of the student volunteers who are here today and were here yesterday. And they are all students in my Asian American Art lecture course. And so I'm really grateful to them for giving up, part of their valuable Halloween weekend to be here. So for me, the core of the AAAI has always been about the importance of slow, in-person encounters with works of art and archives. And here I just want to mention that Stanford Libraries and Digital Services has just been an incredible partner to us. And you'll hear more about that when we talk about the catalog raisonné after lunch. But all of the sections for this fall's Asian American Art Survey course have been taught in galleries or special collections. And it is incredibly meaningful for me to be able to teach this course from works of art rather than slides. I don't know how many scholars working on artists of color have had that opportunity, and I don't take it for granted. And just as an example, sorry, there. I want to show you the Bernice Bing that's in the show in East of the Pacific on the left, which I'm also underway extensive conservation work. Blue Mountain No. 4 is like this kind of gorgeous abstract expressionist composition, and the image on the right is the image that I was teaching from in a PowerPoint from 2018, and that's like the actual, material transformation of history that one is able to enact when you have works of art in person. So lately, I have been thinking about the Asian American Rücken figure as a composition of revealing and withholding. When I look at these works and the works at the museum, I don't see just Asian American art, but rather the irreducible specificities of lives and artistic practices, specificities that are perhaps the only way to answer the abstraction of the term under which they are gathered. These works are more than illustrations of concepts or historical moments, but rather bear the residue of history, politics, racial imaginaries, love, desire, friendship, and the ineluctable entanglement of all of these things. There is a justifiable suspicion of historical recovery projects in Asian American studies, but I believe there are possibilities within these works of art and these artists and their archives beyond what I can imagine at the present moment. So yesterday's panels on race and aesthetics and art activisms were electric. There were so many connections and ideas that have emerged, but what I feel most exciting at this point are the conversations that are happening across generations and among artists, poets, and scholars, and affiliations that are being forged and discovered. And as a reminder, the structure of our panels reflects the AAAI's commitment to primary sources and works of art and our aim of generating dialogue. Each speaker was asked to prepare a 10-minute presentation about a single work that speaks to the panel theme. A respondent will offer a 10-minute reflection, followed by a Q&A session, which we really hope all of you will write down questions on note cards, which will then be gathered. So now I'm delighted to introduce Joan Key, Professor of Art History at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and the inaugural Ford Foundation Scholar in Residence at the Museum of Modern Art. Joan is also one of my heroes, an example of a scholar who is not just content with what is, but creates what she wants to be. And Joan will be responding to our next panel, Global Intimacies. So thank you.